All right, thank y'all for being here tonight to the Dayton City Council Candidates Forum. We're joined tonight by 3 of the 4 candidates for the 2 positions on the ballot in the May 5th election. In position 4, we have Tanya Michael. Her opponent, Don McDaniel, is not here. In position 5, we have Alvin Burris and Valerie Barton. We're both vying for that seat. The candidates are seated in the order in which they appear on the ballot, just so we can get that clarified as to the seating.
Yes,
This will be recorded and streamed, or played over our YouTube channel, our website, and on Facebook for folks that cannot be here tonight to see your answers and your visions for the city of Dayton going forward. During the forum, we have a list of questions that folks have submitted and some that we've worked up leading up to this evening. You are going to have an opening comment period of 2.5 minutes. And during the question and answers, we're going to have a 1.5 minute answer. And then during the closing, you'll have 1.5 minutes to use that time as you see fit. We will start from the left with the questions from Ms. Michael, come down to Ms. Barton, then we'll go back that way when we do the next question, and kind of just back and forth through the night. I'd like to thank everybody that's made it out tonight. The Liberty County Republican Women's Club, they have graciously shown up tonight to serve treats. Members of the Dayton Chamber of Commerce are here. We'd like to thank them for showing up tonight. And with that, we will give you 2.5 minutes again for the opening statement. When you see one hand, you have 30 seconds. When you see 2 hands, you have no more time. Your time is up.
And I'm the one doing the hands.
It's just hands. So with that, we will start with opening statements. Tanya Michael, the incumbent for position 4, Dayton City Council.
Good evening. I'd like to begin with thanking our host for giving voters an opportunity to make an informed decision and giving us the opportunity to share our thoughts on the different questions. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tanya Michael, and I am running for my 2nd term on Dayton City Council. I have been involved with several different organizations throughout the community for the last couple of decades, including the Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Development Corporation, as well as numerous other committees and boards. I am dedicated, I'm actually passionate about serving my community, and this is one way that I feel like I have a voice to kind of guide the direction that we're going. And I feel like that's important, not just for us, but to ensure future generations have a nice place to stay. And I would appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
All right. Mr. Burris, you have 2.5 minutes.
Hello. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah, that's pretty loud. Most of everybody in here, I do know. A couple of new faces here. Pleasure to meet you all today. My name is Alvin Burris. I'm running for position 5. I have served on this council with 2 other terms. I think my very first term was position 3, and I served position 5 before. When I first served on the council, I was asked to fill a spot for Mr. Pruitt, Dwight Pruitt, my first time that I served back in 2017. What a good man he was, and I appreciated filling in for him the best I could. Then I got reelected after that. Other entities I've served in the city of Dayton. I was 14-year fireman here for the city of Dayton. I love that. That was a good experience for me. I got to meet a lot of good people. We've done a lot of different things with that. I've served on the Economic Development Board, and I currently sit on the TERS Board for Bill Benton. My passion for the city has always been to serve. And I'm kind of selfish with it because I always wanted to be better for the future coming up, especially my kids and my grandkids. Done a lot of other, like I say, volunteer work within the city, but to me, the best experience that I've had is with the city council as far as serving there and able to give my knowledge and my experiences outside of government, other things that I've done. I really appreciated that. I appreciate Vindicator here for doing this for us today. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Burris, thank you. Ms. Barton, you have 2.5 minutes or any portion of that you'd like to use.
Hello. Hi, I'm Valerie Barton. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with the voters. I want to say thank you to the Liberty Vindicator and also the volunteer organizations that serve as snacks back there in the back and that came out to support this event. I too, like Ms. Michael, I'm running for re-election for position 5. When I first was elected to this position, I was new to local politics, but I was not new to what was going on within the city of Dayton. I serve within my church, I serve within my community, I serve because that's what I do, I serve. I've always done that all of my life, and I take pleasure in it. When I first got on in this position, it was a lot to learn, and there's still a lot to learn. But what I found out is very interesting that Dayton today was not Dayton 2 years ago. And Dayton today was definitely not Dayton 15, 20 years ago. Also, the way I see the city is that there's so much more to come, and I want what's best for the city's future 25, 30 years down the road and leave it in a better position than we received it when I was first elected to this position, as well as making a better tomorrow for my grandchildren and my family and my community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barton. We're going to start with you now. You'll have 1.5 minutes to answer. Just kind of make an announcement here while we're here. The city of Dayton actually was just voted by our readers in the Reader Choice Award as the best city government in Liberty County. That said, what is one area where you believe the city government is doing well, and one area you believe is overdue for reform or improvement?
Great question. I think that what this council has done over the last 2 years is to be more involved in holding those in positions accountable and having more of an input and collaboration with those who work the city, engage with the city, and just working as a unit. Even though we may not always agree, but at the end of the day, we do what's best for the city. And what was the second part of the question? I apologize.
What is one area you believe is overdue for reform or improvement?
One of the areas I feel is overdue for improvement is definitely our infrastructure. This city is growing and we can't fight it, but we can't be prepared for it. And I think that our infrastructure is so important, whether it's the water, our internet, we gotta be ready for tomorrow. Cybersecurity is really, really big. And some of the areas I feel that we can improve is more accountability, transparency and accountability as leaders of the city.
Here's the question again.
Yeah, one more time.
Okay. What is one area where you believe the city government is doing well, and one area you believe is overdue for reform or improvement?
Outside looking in and talking to different people and paying attention, there was a brief hiatus there where I didn't pay attention to a whole lot. I kind of stepped away. But outside looking in, from what I can see is the transparency this council and this government's tried to have compared to past city councils and things that they've done and that we have done. That's very well appreciated. As far as improvement, infrastructure is a carrot you can throw out there. Everybody, we've had that problem for years. That ain't nothing new. I mean, you can drive down any road in the city of Dayton, you can see where the sewer lines are, down the middle of the roads. I mean, infrastructure going out to different areas of development. One thing I'd like to see the city improve on is come out of our nutshell and reach out to outside communities, reach out to the county, ask for help, get them involved, because we're just one voice. We're just one voice. If we can get more entities involved, and the county, they help us out a lot too, but I'm talking about the thoroughfare cities that are around us, Liberty, Targeton, going north, south. get everybody involved over one big voice and not just one voice as far as that aspect for infrastructure help.
Thank you, Mr. Barton. Or sorry, Mr. Burris, sorry. I'm sorry, I apologize. Any question again, or, okay.
I feel like one area that we are doing really well in, that we were not doing so well in a few years ago, is in the area of fiscal responsibility. I feel like the council that I've served on has made strides in holding ourselves accountable as far as staying on budget and reducing expenses. And one area in particular that we've been able to reduce recently, this past season, was in the insurance for the employees. We were actually able to save $170,000 out of our budget by switching to a different insurance broker and not minimizing the coverage that the employees had. And so fiscal responsibility, we've stayed on budget and have been able to reduce our budget, reduce expenses, and I think that's one positive area that I want to continue to see. Areas for improvement, definitely reaching out to partners like with the county and the school district. I feel like that we need to have a better working relationship there. I think that we have had it in the past. I don't so much think that we have it now, and I feel like that is definitely an area for improvement. Thank you.
Ms. Michael, we're gonna continue with you. Explain the relationship between property appraisals and property tax assessments. What is your role in the tax assessment process?
Okay. I just got my property appraisal in the mail yesterday, as many have been getting them. Last year, our property appraisals went up, but our tax rate for the city went down. Actually, it went down from 0.6608 to 0.6486. But because our property appraisals went up from the appraisal district, not anything that had anything to do with the city or any decisions that we made, the amount that gets paid for those taxes actually increased. So our role, we have the option to have a tax increase, to keep it the same, or to decrease it. We decreased our rate, even though the property appraisals went up, and it was still overall a little bit of an increase for the taxpayers, and that's kind of the general role of it. I will say that we also have not had to have a rate increase for our water sewer rates. We were actually able to keep those down. And with the increase in the impact fees that we're receiving from new developments coming in, I anticipate that we will not have a rate increase on water for the coming year as well. Thank you.
All right. Repeat the question for you, Mr. Burris. Explain the relationship between property appraisals and property tax assessments. What is your role in the tax assessment process?
As we go through it, I guess I can remember the process completely. It's been a while since I've had to do that, but we wait for the tax rates to come from Mr. Brown to come over to us. We overlook those as a council, and if I can remember correctly, and it's been a long time, Russell, that's a tough question for me, but if I remember correctly, that what we set our rate to be has a direct effect on our taxpayers. If we go 0.64, 0.66, depending on the appraisal comes from there, that will affect the taxes we pay going forward. Now, I can't do the math on that at the top of my head, but basically, to make it short and simple, whatever tax rate we set, whether 0.64, 0.66, like Tanya was saying, whatever the appraisal rates are gonna be, we have no control over. We can try to guesstimate from that. We can go high with it, we can go low with it. We can And most of the time that I was on the council, we've always tried to go as low as we could so it does not affect the taxpayers here as far as what we do on our city taxes compared to the appraisal taxes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burris. Did you maybe repeat the question?
No, you don't
Okay,
have to.
all right.
As a sitting council member, when it comes to the property assessments and the property appraisals, I think that Ms. Michael said it best in detail. But one of the unique things that I discovered is that we get to engage once we receive the appraisal rates and what we receive the rates from the county or from Rick Brown's office, is that we work really well with our finance department, our board. We don't just make an instant decision. We have to think about what's best for our citizens. So this year, we were able to not increase the taxes, and I think that's a beautiful thing because as the city grows, eventually we will have to probably raise the taxes, even though we try not to. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is the impact fees, because that's gonna help. With Dayton growing and all these new bills and the communities coming, I look forward to even savings for the taxpayers when it comes to the water part of it. But we can definitely do better. We run a tight ship, especially with Sarah. She's down to the penny. She don't play when it comes to the numbers, and I think that's where this council worked really, really well, even though like I said earlier, we may not agree on everything, but at the end of the day, we try to think about what's best for the taxpayers.
All right. Thank you. And that was City Councilwoman Sarah Vickery.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yes, that was Sarah Vickery. She doesn't play about the penis.
All right. What has been the biggest challenge you've faced as a city council member, and how did you overcome that challenge? Ms. Barton, we'll start with you.
Russell, that's a good question. I believe one of the toughest challenges, and I'm that council person, I'm very transparent, and I'm kind of direct, but my bark is most of the time bigger than my bite. I think that our city went through a transition, and I think one of the toughest positions that I personally have been put in is when we did the parting of the ways with our previous city manager. And that was a tough spot for me because I didn't always agree with everything that went, how it happened, but did it need to happen? Some can say yes, some can say no. I look at the long-term effect. What is it gonna cost our city down the road? And sometimes I play the devil's advocate so that we can think about what the cost is, because everything has a cause and effect and it has a money attached to it. So for that, it was a very tough couple of months for myself because I had to remove my personal feelings from that situation to do what's best for the city. And our council made a decision, and that was a decision I had to live with as a sitting council and outside of the council when it comes to my personal life as well. But we overcame it, and we're doing good. We have an interim city manager who's always got an open door policy, and I appreciate that relationship.
Question you?
Same question?
Yeah.
Well, my question to you, Russell, do you pick a year?
Pick a year.
Pick a year between 17 and 23. Man, there have been so many tough decisions and tough challenges we've had over the years, going from city managers to investigations to, I don't want to say this word too loud, DayNet. We've had that discussion over the years. I'm gonna go to we all know about those. Those have been known, they've been public. We all know about the challenge we have with city managers. But I'm gonna go to the public safety aspect a little bit, and I'm gonna say Hurricane Harvey. When we had Hurricane Harvey come through here, there was a lot of challenges with logistics, a lot of challenges working not just within the city, but the whole county. I can say that because I was with it every day for 2 weeks, 24 hours a day. And to me, that was one of the toughest challenges I had as a city councilman, just to be able to logistically have everything that this city needs from water to gas to help, any kind of food service we could do. I'm very proud of what we went through with that. Mr. Shane, we worked hard on that together a long time ago. So it's easy to go back to these challenges with city managers and decisions we've had to make with that. That comes part of the job when you take this job as a councilman and you get elected to that. But that was one of the toughest challenges I went through as far as public safety on that aspect.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Michael?
Well, I would have to say the toughest challenge for me has been realizing the speed of government does not run at my pace. And that is citywide, countywide, statewide, with TxDOT in particular. They know the needs here. They can see it. They have a plan. Some of it's a 5-year plan, some of it's on a 10-year plan. But even getting the studies done to be able to make the path forward, it's just been frustrating to me just to witness the speed of government and how slow it really is. Even with this council that we're on now, having a very strong focus on streets, and the money that we have set aside since I've been on here has been $581,000 that we've set aside for city streets. But to see the first city street paved, it's happening coming up in June. And like I said, just the biggest challenge is that the speed of government doesn't happen at my pace, because I'm ready to jump in and let's get this done. So that would be it.
All right. I'm gonna, let me frame this. In the last two, this gubernatorial and presidential election cycles, voters in our area have voted over 80% in the general elections for President Donald Trump and Governor Greg Abbott. Now, although the position on council is elected as a nonpartisan, political convictions and philosophy shape our views and influence how we govern, how you would govern. That said, I'm not going to sit here and hold you to whether you voted for Donald Trump or Greg Abbott, but I want to frame it with that is certainly the majority will of this community in those last two elections. Like I said, both are over 80%. So what I would ask you then is this: can you identify a well-known political figure on either side of the political aisle whom you admire and explain why?
Do they have to be living?
No.
My favorite political figure of all time would be Winston Churchill. And it's because he was no nonsense, and he got the job done. And he had a way about him that made people listen. And if he were in our political system here, I couldn't tell you if he would have been considered a Republican or a Democrat. But he got the job done. And I consider myself a fiscally conservative person. I do not and would not ever feel comfortable with voting for a person that is running just because of what party they are affiliated with. I think it's very important to look at the individual and what they believe in and see if what they believe in aligns with my beliefs. And I think that just to say that somebody is only going to vote for this person because of what party they're affiliated with, I don't believe that. I don't believe that's the correct way to go. I am a conservative, and I'm proud of that. And but like I said, Winston Churchill, he would be the one that I would have to say I admire the most.
Oh, me.
Yep, Evan.
First of all, it's kind of a loaded question there.
It is a loaded question. I framed it better than it came in.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. It's obvious I'm a conservative Republican. You can take that for how you want to take it, but I will say this publicly, that should never have a role here with the city government in any aspect, way, shape, or form. I've served with a lot of people that were Democrats, Republicans, and most of them I didn't even ask because it didn't matter. I want to go ahead and state that publicly, it should never be part of this. Secondly, if I had to have a favorite, by far, my favorite president always has been, I own so many books about him, is Abraham Lincoln. Not so much because of things that he had done as a president, it's everything he endured becoming president. Coming from a young man with nothing, becoming what he has, self-educating. He was a common sense man. He was a tough guy. He had no problem whatsoever making tough decisions when they had to be made, as unpopular as they are. And I personally believe that in my heart and how I try to do things. So if I had one favorite, if I have to say one, it would be Abraham Lincoln.
Political figure on either side of the aisle,
Well, so that was a good one. That was a good one. So for me, I don't have one particular favorite. If I had to choose one, I would say George Bush Jr. Anybody that knows me know that I'm a diehard George Bush Jr. Groupie. However, and I agree with Mr. Burris, I don't feel as if though, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, because it shouldn't play a part in local city government. How we move, how we operate, what decisions we make, what we support, what we don't support. I can say this, I was a lifelong conservative. However, this last election, I did change my position and I became what I call independent. Because I didn't like the way things were going on either side. I'm a person that's for the people, regardless of what your political connection is, but what are you doing for the people as a servant? I believe in getting in good trouble. If it's good trouble, standing up for social justices, standing up for civil rights, standing up for people. I don't care if you're red, black, orange, yellow, male, female. I always tend to side on what's best and what's fair to all, not just one individual. And again, I said if I had to pick someone, it would definitely be George R. Bush Jr., my guy.
All right, and you talked about service and commitment to service, and I would follow that with all three of you have served, or either are serving or have served at some point on the council. Other than being an elected official, how do you volunteer and give back to the community members of the Dayton community?
I give back through my church. I give back to the people that's within my community. I love to help seniors and I love to help children. I'm one that don't believe that you have to show everybody what you're doing, but be true and honest, because you can get more work done helping people and not being in the spotlight. I'm one that I don't care about being in the spotlight. I care about people and how can I best help someone. If you call me, I'm coming. And if you don't call me, there's certain elderly people in my community that sometimes get overlooked, and I go the distance to check on them to see if they're okay, if they need anything. And when it comes to children, we have a lot of children in our community, who live in some very uncomfortable positions. So I always try to make sure the welfare of the children are okay. If they need anything, if I can buy them something, if I can just make sure that they're okay mentally, because we deal with a lot of mental illnesses and issues. We have suicide on the rise, and those are tough conversations, because we're not all perfect. Nobody's perfect, but we gotta just start just checking on people's mental, because sometimes your strongest people are your weakest, and they need to be checked on too. So that's what I try to do.
How do you serve the community in other ways, or have served the community volunteering?
Yeah. That's done. Okay, well, we can go back a few years for that. As I said earlier in my opening statement, I served 14 years with the Dayton Volunteer Fire Department, and that's not just running down the road with woo-hoos going chasing fires. Through through the years with that, I worked with the school district, with the fire department, with Toys for Tots, which we did our own toy drive. I worked with Ms. Sheffield Richter real hard with that one, and Ms. Cherry at SFA. We did that for years. We've also been involved with Liberty County Bikes for Christmas. We did that for years with Mr. Wilson and them people there. Here recently, the older I've gotten, the more I've gotten away from volunteering so much of my time. But I do a lot of work in my neighborhood with elderly neighbors. I do a lot of work with my wife, with the school, with toys there, with food, kids that need food, things like that. Of course, years and years of service here with the city council. I've done economic development, volunteered my time with that for a few years. It's just my whole life has been to give back to the city that's taking me in and giving me a chance to do these things. That's about it.
Thank you, sir.
Oh.
Michael?
Yes, I served as an ambassador with the Dayton Chamber of Commerce for a year, and then I was on the board for 3 years. Transitioned from that to the Dayton Community Development Corporation, was part of that board for 7 years. When I stepped down from that board to take this position on council, I left as president of the board. I have been the board secretary for the Lenny AC Cemetery Association, which is the cemetery right down the road from me, and it's where my husband and I will be laid to rest. And let's see, the Dayton Fire and Police Museum Committee, been on that. Yes, Mr. Burris has been on that as well. Let's see, the Dayton Downtown Revitalization Committee, the Unified Development Code Committee, the Dayton Education Committee that was with the Chamber of Commerce, I was on that. I support different fundraising activities as they come up. My husband and I both do with the Lions Club, with the Dayton Rotary, several different things. We, even with Boots and Bullets, we always give to that organization as well. And I continue to look for ways to serve, even to help our small businesses in our community. And I'm always looking for more ways.
Well, I didn't hear any of y'all mention the Dayton Historical Society, but you guys are all invited to come on out and be.
I am.
I used to be a member of that one.
Shameless plug, I am the vice president. Let's see here. How have you fostered healthy working relationships with members of the Dayton City Council?
I think if you ask any member of the Dayton City Council if I get along with them, the answer would be yes. I think I can say that with great confidence. I do try to be a peacemaker when it becomes necessary, but overall, I do think we do have good working relationships together. Most of the other council people that I serve with, I'm friends outside of council as well, and we don't have a lot of contention among us. When we do, I try not to harp on that, try to look for the common ground and see where we can come together, because the things that we come together on are more than the things that we disagree about.
How have you fostered healthy working relationships with members of the Dayton City Council during your time on council?
Man, well, I can tell you right now, it ain't all peace and harmony. I've been on councils to where, 3 get along great, 2 don't agree. The best way that I have figured out over the years, of course, is you have to be honest with each other. You have to try your best to understand other people's thoughts and processes. But the main goal for any council, and they can say they get along all they want, but I know better. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But the whole thought process is you come to the same agreement. Even if it's a hard decision to make, No matter how hard it is, you disagree, you have your right to disagree. But you got to come to a common ground to think about what's our population now, over 8,000 people. That's what's important, not 5 people sitting in a room. So to foster a good relationship is to have an intellect, to be able to sit there and converse and come to an agreement to the best of the capability with the information you have.
Mr. Barton. How have you fostered healthy working relationships with council?
And I'm gonna, piggyback off of Mr. Burns. When you're a party of 5 and you have to make tough decisions, fostering relationships among council, I can honestly speak on that because when I first started out on council, I thought we had a wonderful, great relationship. You know, I felt like we were doing things. And then council changed, and I feel like then things slowed back because I'm a very aggressive. I like progressive. I like to see change, and we don't always agree. We may look like it when we step out in chambers, but we have some very difficult conversations when we're in our executive sessions. And I think for me, because I don't know any other way but to be direct. My bark is bigger than my bite in most cases. However, I think that's an area that we can improve. I may not agree with everything that you say, but at the end of the day, if it's what's best for the city, I'm gonna go with that. Unless I really, really, really feel, you know, a certain way, I'm strong on it. Fostering relationships, I used to invite when the mayor first came, I invited him to my church. Several times he showed up. I called Tanya. Tanya called me when I'm sick. She checks on me. I call Mr. Barnes. I don't call Sarah because I don't know her number, and we just don't talk. But we are all council, right? And we do not agree. But at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for the city of Dayton, and that's what I'm here for. I'm not here because any particular group or persons. I'm in this position to do what's best for the people who elected me and by being in this position. And sometimes those relationships are tough, but we have to do what's best.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Barton, we got one more question we're gonna bring back down this way, then we're gonna close the statements. Having experience on council, do you think certain talents or skills are missing from this current slate of elected city officials? And what do you bring to the table to strengthen the group?
Absolutely. I feel that there are some talents that are missing. There are people, we have some pretty unique people on our council, and I think that we all have areas where we can improve. There's courses, there's trainings, but you have to be proactive in getting those things done. I think for me personally, I bring my government experience, my contracting experience, project management, because I tend to look at things at a high level, and I don't focus in the weeds. I look at the city of Dayton as a project, and it's a growing project. And how do we control all these moving parts that's taking place in our city? And think to myself, and I had this conversation with council, I would rather be in control of us making the decisions for our city rather than having other entities like expanding boundaries and we not have that control. So for me, I bring the project management, government contracting, and management overall. I do believe that I have areas that I can improve in. I'm far from being perfect, and I learn every day. Anytime anyone say that they know it all and they got it, I look at them sideways because it's constantly change. And but I've enjoyed it, and I think that we all would agree that we have areas where we can improve.
Having experience on council, do you think certain talents or skills are missing from this current slate of elected officials? And what do you bring to the table to strengthen the group?
Okay, I cannot sit here and be a jury of 5 people I have not worked with. few of them I know individually. I've served on boards with, Tanya. I've been on council with Mr. Hedrick. But a few of them I really don't know that well. Miss Vickerly, I just met last year. So I can't really, honestly say what their weaknesses are, what their talents are. I can say Mr. Hedrick, he's a quiet man, he likes to think things through thoroughly. We used to call Tanya radar, because she'll catch anything, it doesn't matter what it is. So that's my aspect on that. I can't judge people I don't work with. But I can, individual relationships, I can tell you what I have with them. As far as myself, what I think I can bring is, under pressure, I can think clearly. Under pressure, I can look at the whole picture. I can basically try to gain all the information I can to make a decision, whether it's a hard one or an easy one. I think with that aspect, that's what I can bring.
Thank you. You repeat it?
Okay, so currently, I feel like if we are missing anything, it is someone who has, with the current growth that we're in right now, someone that has like maybe construction management type experience with the type of growth that we're seeing. And it's not that, that we don't have access to that kind of knowledge, because we do. But on council itself, if anything is missing, I think maybe that would be it. Or maybe somebody who has better communication with TxDOT. But for myself, I have a very strong work ethic and a keen eye for detail. Like Alvin alluded to earlier, they did used to call me radar on the
True story.
economic development board, because I did catch things. And I have an unwavering dedication to my responsibilities. I take them very seriously. And when I show up to a meeting, I'm prepared and I'm ready to go to work for it. I'm not sitting there reading through the packet 10 minutes before the meeting starts. I've already read through it. I've already got my questions answered from the different department heads about it, and I'm ready to make a decision. So I think that's one of my strengths on that.
All right, well, we will now turn to our closing statements. You have all of a minute and a half, or any portion of that which you choose to use, to give your final pitch to the Dayton voters on why you should be elected. Ms. Michael.
Okay, well, I would like to thank everyone who came out to join us tonight, and those that are going to be watching online later. Ultimately, it is the voters that make the decision on who they want to represent their interests on council. I remain committed to helping Dayton to grow in the right way, and if anyone has any issues, I welcome them to contact me. Many do, and I feel like the majority of the time that goes very well. And if people would just reach out, you know, I think it would maybe calm down some of the things that we see in the social media groups of people just not being informed, you know, or being misinformed and running off with misinformation. I really would like to see more engagement from the community, and I'm an open book. If you have a question, call me, ask me, and I'll be happy to answer it. And I would appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Real quick, just to be, Don McDaniel is the opponent, and he's not here, but just so that just kind of preface that with y'all's race. Now the position 5, Mr. Bursch, all of a minute and a half, or whatever portion you'd like to use. Closing statement.
Russell, thank you again for putting this, everybody for attending tonight, everybody that's just gonna watch and listen. Thank you, Valerie, thank you, Tanya. It was a pleasure sitting up here with you guys. What I say to the city of Dayton, what I think I can bring is 5 years of city council experience. My first meeting was River Ranch signing contract. No clue what I was doing, and then moving on up from there, I've been through just about everything you can be with or involved in with the city council on decisions that have to be made. One thing that I can tell you that I will always be a level head. I always try to do what I think is right for for the city of Dayton, and sometimes it can be a contradiction because you get caught within yourself. I think this is a great idea. Well, I can't speak for 8,000 people. So I always try to remind myself that the reason I sit here is for you. And I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Ms. Barton?
I would like to kind of add this, Ms. Michael, Councilwoman Michael. I do have construction management. I manage billion-dollar contracts, and that's kind of my caveat. I love it. I like to build things and control people's money because that's what they pay me to do. However, so I have really appreciated serving on Dayton City Council. Thank you, Tanya, for serving with you. Thank you, Mr. Burris, for being here on side of me. Although we're running for the same position, the voters will make that decision. I'm grateful. I've learned a lot, and there's still more to learn. I love the city of Dayton. Anybody knows me, my family's been here for generations. And I have a lot of people who I have to make proud of me because of the position I've been put in. But at the same time, as a sitting city council person, I would love to be your next city council for 2 more years or 3 more years because there's so much going on in this area, and I would definitely love to be a part of that. Thank you, Derek, our interim city manager, for being so full of information when I call and ask you some of the difficult questions. I appreciate you being very open and breaking it down so that I can respond to those people who are asking me the questions and I can take that back to them. And I appreciate also you reaching out to those that I've called you with and have had questions, because I get those calls and I don't know the answer, and I always knock on the city manager's door for answers. And thank you, Russell. Thank you, the Vindicator. Again, thank you, volunteers. It's been great, and I appreciate this time.
Thank you. We'd like to thank you all again. Kind of a point of information, these candidates, if they are elected this cycle, they will be going to 3-year terms as Dayton starts to complete the transition to the 3-year cycle that began last year before. So these candidates who were both serving 2-year terms, their races are now for 3-year terms going forward. That said, election information, early voting starts Tuesday, April the 22nd, and will run through the 29th. You will be able to vote here at the Dayton Community Center, the Jack Hartel Building in Liberty, in Cleveland at the Civic Center, and Santa Fe Administration Building in Colony Ridge. Those are the early voting locations. Election day is Saturday, May the 5th, and Saturday, May the 3rd. And that will be the same voting locations plus a few more that will be open around the area. We'll have that. We'll have more from these candidates and candidates from around the area in our election guide that will come out in this week's edition of the paper. And with that said, we appreciate all of you coming, and we ask everybody to please go cast your vote and help, make your voice heard. Thank you all.
Need you to get out and vote.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Please go out and vote.